Hello, everyone. Once again, I'm joined today by my father in another review. Say hi, Dad.
Hello, everybody.
In today's video, we are reviewing The Public Enemy from 1931, a pre-code gangster film that stars James Cagney, Mae Clarke, and who else stars in this film?
Very young Jean Harlow and Joan Blondell.
The film was directed by... Who directed it again? It was
William Wellman.
William Wellman. The Public Enemy is about Tom Powers and Matt Doyle here, two best friends that have known each other since they were little kids. They grew up together, but they were brought up in bad poverty, but came from good families. But they made poor choices and decisions growing up. Tommy and Matt grew up to become thieves, bootleggers, and after alcohol became illegal during the 1920s during Prohibition, and they became cold-blooded killers. When they become very well-known criminals and become wealthy, they feel the heat from the rival gangs and the police right after them. Even though Tommy is a ruthless criminal, he does try to reconnect with his family as best as he can. But the sad part is gang warfare and revenge pull him away from being close with his family. So what are your thoughts on this movie, Dad?
Well, it's an early film about the life of a gangster, and it's early in the Warner Brothers sequence of gangster films. It's very important in the career of James Cagney because this really established him as a star.
Because I don't think he was a nobody until this film is what really got him on board of being a very well established A-list actor.
Right.
Right. You know what I really love about the film too is that it shows like you said, the dynamics of these gangsters. Yeah, they're gangsters, but you kind of see how they're misunderstood gangsters because they would not have wanted a life like that.
Yes, it goes into the early childhood of James Cagney and what basically led to him and his friend to become gangsters. It was partially environment as well as his family life.
Right. Well, he came from a good family. He just made poor choices, basically, when you think about it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. His mother was very sweet, kind, and he definitely had an estranged relationship with his brother because his brother made better choices, and well, then again, they argue about which is the better choice. Well, definitely not going to crime is a good choice, that's for sure.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Especially how let's just say every time they argued about choices, he always got slapped, and Cagney never got any payback or slapped back at his brother.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it.
Yeah.
That Grape Fruit scene with Mae Clarke, I can't imagine how many times they shot that scene, and
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was something that was ad-libbed or if it was written in the script. But Mae Clarke looked pretty surprised at that.
Yeah, because if she was surprised and it was improvised, it worked very well. But that's the kind of scene you wouldn't see in a film today, back compared to the 30s.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think the main thing about this film, or one of the main things, is that when it was originally decided to film it, that James Cagney and Edward Woods, they both switched roles because Edward Woods was supposed to be the main character.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But James Cagney was chosen, I guess, based on his performance in a previous film. And also, when they saw that when they started filming, they saw how much more dynamic Cagney was. Cagney is the type of actor that everybody is immediately drawn to his presence in a film.
Right.
And Raoul Walsh, one of the studio directors who directed him in White Heat, said that whenever Cagney is there, he commands the attention. Everybody looks at him. He just had that dynamic screen presence, and it was undeniable, and it was really flaunted in this movie.
Right. Well, especially how Cagney was typecast for playing a lot of gangsters in films. It looks like he did do Yankee Doodle Dandy, and that was not a gangster film. That was more of it was a musical drama.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also, he played Lon Chaney Sr., Man of a Thousand Faces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was much later in his career.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Cagney brings a very naturalistic style to this movie.
He does.
It's not stagey. His gestures, his speech, they're all very natural. Whereas if you look at the other actors, they sort of speak slowly and they have exaggerated gestures because some of them are coming from the silent film.
Yeah.
And also from what we had seen on one of the special features is that they had to speak more slowly because of the need that the sound was in its infancy.
Yeah.
But Cagney basically just ignored that and just went ahead and did his own thing.
Well, he definitely made the transition well to talk, because at that time actors quit acting because of not making the transition, not having the right chemistry for talkie films.
Mm-hmm.
I also love how when Cagney up until his character at the end of the film, after when his things are going downhill for him in his business and his friend got killed, and he wants revenge against the people that ruined everything of his business, reputation, and also his friend that was killed that he saw right in front of his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
He does, what does he do? He murders them, and then after when he kills them, he gets shot and he goes, "I ain't as tough as I look." He even shows that we're not invincible. We're all when we get shot, we can't survive a bullet shot.
No, of course not.
No.
And Cagney brings a sense of realism.
He does.
He's somebody who grew up in the streets of New York. He grew up in a tough neighborhood.
Yeah.
So he had real experience, not necessarily as a gangster or with gangsters, but at least being in situations where he had to use his fists.
But in situations, it felt so realistic. You really felt like he was a gangster, even though he wasn't a gangster.
Right, he did. He was tough. Cagney portrayed toughness on the film.
Oh yeah.
In the film, on camera, and he was remarkably effective at that.
I remember Martin Scorsese said, and also that thing we watched in the behind the scenes interviews of him and other film historians. He made a joke about how that this came out today. If he made, he goes, I would have made it more bloody violent because of his style of directing, which I could see. It's, I mean, not that I'm saying I don't want to remake, but not a bad choice of direction for Scorsese to remake it. But keep it the way it is. I can definitely see Scorsese making this more bloody than what this film was when it came out.
Right, and then Scorsese in this special feature says that the violence is off screen, which it is, and the way Wellman projects this is through the faces of the people that are watching the violence.
Right.
Like when his one of the people that he was friendly with and that went against him, and Cagney shoots him.
Right.
We see his friend looking at the event that occurs off camera,
right,
and through the expressions on his face and the way the camera moves, we can see, even though we don't see the violence, we can imagine what the violence is like.
Well, because at that time it was a strict, well, even though the Hays Code didn't come out till 33, but I guess Hollywood was still on the censoring, as I guess you could say at that time.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was there was a lot less restriction on what they could do.
Yeah.
Then when the Hays office came, and eventually the production code under Joseph Breen, which really put teeth into the code, which is another fascinating story. Joseph Breen actually viewed all of the films before they were shown, to decide whether or not it was going to be approved, and also to review the scripts, and he cut back on different things that were meant to be, or that were objectionable, or did not follow the production code.
Well, that's similar, even when critics watch the film before it's released, they're giving their own personal opinion, but different though.
Right. Well, he was in charge of making sure that he was like a policeman for the production code. He made sure that everything followed the rules.
Right.
They had a whole different array of rules that they had to follow, where they couldn't talk about certain things,
or say certain words,
say
like
certain
no
words,
or no sex and nudity.
no sex and nudity,
But
and they also were had to have if there was a villain, the villain had to get his comeuppance, so to say. They couldn't escape without having any kind of recrimination,
right.
and they couldn't talk about divorce and all those different things.
I once watched a YouTube video. I don't remember what the name of the video was, but the video was called "You Think That recent modern day films are like naughty, inappropriate?" He points out how like even back then there are like naughty moments, but the only difference is they don't say it. It's hidden, like how like this character is either gay or this means sex. Because like this movie, for example, there's some hidden things on like where Cagney wants to have sex with this girl and or abusive relationships or it's like you said, like the violence, for instance.
Yeah.
Also, I want to get back to about like how like the ending of like how I find it very like sad and heartbreaking because like he basically didn't get a chance to like make peace with his brother up until he died.
Right. And I remember seeing this movie, as a kid, watching it on television, and the ending, which I won't give away, but it just hits you right between the eyes. It just knocks you down.
It does.
It's such a powerful ending, so powerfully shot, and I'm sure it made a big impression on the movie-going public back in 1931.
Even today, like today's like standards, I found it like shocking and very, very sad. It's and not only that, also like when he goes like up the stairs, we know like what he's gonna tell his mother and his sister. It's not even. It's one of those things like we don't need it to be shown. It's like we get it. We know what's gonna happen. It's like us for our like the viewers, the audiences, like in our heads of what the was he the older or the younger brother?
He was an older brother.
Okay, the older brother's going to tell his mother and sister what happened to Tommy. Yeah. Any closing thoughts or any like last things to say about the film before we wrap this up?
No, I thought it was interesting in the special features that Scorsese said that he had shown this film to a modern day audience while he was filming one of his movies. I think it was The Aviator, which had to do with Howard Hughes. And he wanted to show them this movie to give them an idea what things kind of were like at this time, what the film industry was like. And he said when he had shown that after it, people were standing up and applauding. So I think that that's a very strong indication that this movie is really timeless, and it has a lot to say even to modern audiences.
One more thing I'd like to point out too is like, like the film like reflects upon like like class, like middle, the low, and the high class.
Yeah.
I feel like this film also points that out too in some ways, especially like even like relevant in today's society with like we see on the news with like gang related violence, etc. Definitely like relevant in today's like modern world, but different of course.
Right.
The only difference is like in this film they don't reflect on like drugs is what is more relevant in today's society.
Right. Well, at the time it was more. They were talking about the era of prohibition,
right?
So
because that was a big
bootlegging with the alcohol.
That had a big negative effect on their business because alcohol was legal at that time back in the 1920s.
Right.
And that was a big, like I said, big negative impact on their businesses and. So all in all, really great film, phenomenal, and I would definitely say this film has definitely inspired, like Scorsese would say in some ways, for his like films of gangster films.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it has. The director, William Wellman, is known to be one of the major studio directors at the time, and he was someone who had a lot of life experience. He fought in the war, and he brought that sort of nitty gritty type of realism to his filmmaking.
Right.
At that time, there was no film school. People learned as they went along. They were apprentices, and it was a new medium.
Yeah.
And some of them emerged as really excellent filmmakers and storytellers. And William Wellman was definitely one of them.
What else did he direct? Because I'm not familiar with his other films that he's done.
Well, he directed Wings, which was...
I've heard of that. I've never seen it.
One of the first movies to get an Academy Award, I believe. And one of my favorite movies is the Ox-Bow Incident.
I've heard of that, but I've never seen it. I didn't know that was him that directed it.
Yeah, he directed it.
I'll have to check out more of those movies at some point. Okay, so that was our review of the Public Enemy. Please like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And once again, thanks for joining us, Dad.
Anytime.
All right, see you next time.